Hi science students, this is John Walker, your science teacher. In this lesson we're going to talk about chemical reactions and those words and properties that we use to describe reactions in chemical science. So a chemical reaction is a process in which substances undergo chemical change. In other words, they change who they are. They're no longer this compound. If it's H2O, it's no longer water. That gets split apart. If it's salt, NaCl, sodium chloride, it gets split apart. So, and when I say split apart, it means changes its entire compound. It becomes something else. In a chemical change, the atoms are rearranged and new substances are formed. The new substance will have new and different properties. Some clues that a chemical reaction has occurred are the production of gas. Okay, and we often, say when we burn something, there's a gas given off. It's carbon dioxide, isn't it? A precipitate, which is a solid form of a compound, and there's a change in color. In an exothermic reaction, like when a candle burns, heat is given off. In an endothermic reaction, like when vinegar is added to baking soda, heat is lost and the substance feels colder. Exothermic and endothermic reactions are really important in the concept of chemical reactions. And then if we talk a little bit more about a chemical reaction, the substances that undergo the chemical changes are called reactants. Okay, so when we put reactants together, and then we usually apply some kind of heat or an energy, and what happens is we get what is called products. The substances that are formed are called products. This chemical this reaction can be shown in a chemical equation. The regular size numbers in front of a chemical formula are called coefficients. Coefficients tell you how many molecules of the substance you have. Coefficients apply to every atom they are in front of. The little numbers that you see after some elements are called subscripts. The subscripts apply only to the atom that they come after. The arrow in the equation is often read as yields. I sometimes usually say it equals, but yields is another way of using it. One thing to remember about chemical equations is that they must always be balanced due to the law of conservation of mass. You remember that? We've done some experiments on that. Conservation of mass is when matter is neither created nor destroyed during any physical chemical change. Okay, so let's scroll down here and take a look at some of the words that we're going to be using, and we're going to label it. Okay, so what would be in number one? Okay, what would be in number one? Number one would be something like, okay, that would be a chemical, what? Would be a chemical equation or a chemical formula. Okay, so that's what we're going to have to figure out. So chemical, I would say it would be a chemical equation. Okay, what would number two be? Chemical formula. Chemical formula. Okay, what would the when it points to, okay, number four? Okay, what would be number four? Number four would be a chemical formula, wouldn't it? 2H2. And what would the 2 be? Remember, we just went over that. That is a coefficient, isn't it? Okay. And then, of course, when it has 2H2, the 2, which is called a subscript, right? That's called a subscript. And then 2H2 plus O2. O is a what? That's a chemical symbol, isn't it? And then that arrow sign, that's yields, isn't it? Okay. So what we're going to be doing now is that we're going to be taking a look at some matching and some other problems, from this whole particular introduction to the chemical reactions and see whether or not you do understand that. Okay, I'll be right back with you in just a second, and I'll talk to you soon.